And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit, like God's property is hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target, 'cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East. You know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without a skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I like the expression. He's got a very forceful look.
You know, he's intent on something, maybe taking over the world. You know, you begin to get perhaps an insight into why these guys won out and why this guy's our ancestor.
And this is how we can trace our way back to our genetic Eve and her daughters. So written within it is the history of the world's women, and therefore the human race. Professor Rebecca Kahn was the pioneering scientist who uncovered the first all-important clue.
I started working on human mitochondrial DNA so that I would have some kind of view that was objective, that would help me understand and help other people understand how humans around the world were related.
With this new science, she could. Harmless mutation happens all the time in some part of the mitochondrial DNA, leaving minute markers at every change. These markers are like barcodes and can be read in the same way. Khan and her team discovered the changes happen at a fairly constant rate. They found the groups with the earliest markers were the Africans living inside Africa, and wondered if they might be the oldest people in the world.
I was very excited when I first started to get evidence, and it was so counterintuitive. I'd put 20 Europeans and 20 African Americans on a sheet of X-ray film, and every African American showed differences, and all the Europeans looked the same. And I thought I'd mislabeled something, or I thought I'd made some drastic mistake. And we kept repeating and repeating things, and as we got more samples from different areas, I realized that it was a difference in the pattern, and that this whole new type of evidence based on mitochondria was going to change the way we thought about modern humans.
In 1987, Khan and her colleagues published a paper showing for the first time that the markers stretched back to Africa, showing quite clearly that this was the birthplace of the human race. New Guinean tribesman, Parisian bartender, American teacher, Polynesian farmer, all were improbable relatives linked through one black woman 150,000 years ago. Their findings caused a sensation.
The responses of people were sort of amazing. The public was genuinely interested in certain aspects of it, but there was a tendency to misinterpret the data because of the terminology used to describe this woman, African Eve. And people thought it meant the biblical Eve, the single woman in the Judeo-Christian Bible of the wife of Adam. I have to say, even my own uncle sent me a Christmas card the year that our study was published saying, "How dare you, you know Grandma wasn't black."
Her work is rewriting human history. Through it, we now know the first mutations took place in Africa. Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro: Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at
I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a great Shabbat. Hallelujah. And celebrating the new year. Hallelujah. Tonight is the official new year for the ancient Israelites. If you follow the calendar according to pre-70 AD and even up to Nicene Council, right? The ancient Israelites, in which the early so-called church, they identified, right, that their new year began the first new moon, which is actually technically the crescent moon, like that first glimpse of the moon after the spring equinox, right? So that's how they honored it. Josephus makes note of this, as well as you can confirm this with the Law and the Prophets, and post 70 AD, you can confirm this with some of these so-called church fathers, like the Bishop Polycrates, who was the bishop of the Assembly of Ephesus, right? He confirms this. All right. So this is not something that we are just making up. So technically tonight, right, that crescent moon, guess what? Tonight would be the new year, the official new year for the ancient Israelites. That's a fact, family. All right. So want to say, Shalom Lock to everyone that's tuning in tonight. And again, that would be the true Rosh Hashanah. In other words, the beginning of the year, not in the 7th month. That's Talmudic doctrine. Hallelujah. So guess what? 14 days later, we will be honoring Pasach. And then 15 days later, the beginning of Feast of Unleavened Bread. Hallelujah. I'm telling you, family, it's so liberating when you know that you are honoring things according to what our ancestors had done, free from the Roman influence, free from the Roman influence, free from the Roman influence that they had on the so-called early church, right? And also, right, those Romans that have hijacked the identity of the ancient Israelites who were kicked out of Israel, basically. Renamed the territory to Palestina as an attempt to further erase the identity of the true ancient Israelites. But anyway, not getting into all of that, family, but we do have a lot to cover tonight. And as you can see on your screen, we're going to continue with this discussion, right? Because this topic has been a very hot topic, right? And tonight, as you see, I'm covering pretty pictures and images. That's our topic for tonight, dealing with the Iranians, right? In one of their videos, Actually, I think a couple of them, they have a Lego image of Malcolm X. And it just dawned on me. I should have, I didn't have time. If I have enough time, I'll post a source here to give you guys an understanding of the origins of icons, right? Those icons that you see, like many of you guys use for your profile, right? When you start understanding the origins of the icons, the origins of the avatars, now you're getting into Hinduism. Now you're getting into reincarnation. That's what those icons represent. They represent, when you understand the truth behind it, reincarnation. So when you think about the movie Avatar, what's happening there? Right? They're transitioning into what? A body, another body, a genetically modified body. The role that Sigourney Weaver played, right? When she got shot and they wanted to transition her spirit into another body. They went before AWA, so to speak. Come on, family. This stuff is right in your face. So I'm saying all of this to say they are using icons. That's all this is. They are using Lego icons to push their propaganda. All right. But the question that we have to really answer, we have a number of questions that we have to answer, because there's a number of assumptions that are made, especially among our community. We have a number of our people that tend to, jump on different bandwagons because of their disappointment and not liking the United States. Now, I understand it. I get it. I want to make it clear. I'm not here defending the United States. They are the people that have contributed to the demise of our people, enslaving our people. They participated in that. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. I'm not supporting any Democratic Party, any Republican Party, any political party. I want to make sure we lay the foundation, because when you say certain things, you always have those trolls. Man, I got to put this this clip up, man, to cover the trolls, right? But I want to make it clear, I don't follow any of those guys. I don't roll with any of those guys. I don't roll with Donald Trump. I don't roll with Joe Biden. I don't roll with any of that stuff. I remove myself from all of that stuff. I'm all about our people. Hallelujah. I am all about our people. And that's how we should be. Right? So anyone that's in this awakening trying to push you to support Donald Trump or support Biden or the Democrats, whatever, if they trying to tell you to, hey, the Democrats don't care about our people, red flag, right? Remember this here. This should be your red flag right here.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger!
That should be your red flag. That should be your response. And vice versa. If someone trying to tell you that the Republican Party don't care about us, guess what?
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
Or if they trying to convince you that the Independent Party, guess what?
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
So we just gotta do exactly what the scripture tells us to do in Revelation. We need to come out of this Babylonian system. We need to separate ourselves. This is a worldwide system. Okay. So we have a lot to cover here. And surprisingly, I got a response on the video that I did regarding the discussion that we had last Saturday night, right? Regarding the same subject, and the actual creator of that video, right? That's dealing with the as you see the image in this. Let me see if I can put my mouse over here, right? Let me zoom it in so you guys can see. The actual guy that created the video that's associated with this character here, his name is Teo, right? He responded. He posted some comments inside the comment section. That's a whole nother discussion. I encourage you guys, go peep it out. Go look in the comment section. And I may do something on based off of that interaction there, because it does substantiate the points that was made last week. But anyway, but let's go ahead and get into this. I really want to delve into it. I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. I'll drop it in here. I mean, drop it inside the comment section in probably another 10, 15 minutes. Berean scholar, Sister Carol, I just want to kind of get this plane off the ground. And then as I drop the link, you guys could jump on. Hallelujah. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the plane off the ground here. But let's get into it, family. Pretty pictures and images. All right. Pretty pictures and images. Let's go ahead and get into it. Who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen? I know you guys probably asking that question, like, what did this have to do with anything? Follow me, right? Poor righteous teacher, right? Follow me now, see? Follow me now, see? Right, anyway. Follow me on this. I'm going somewhere with this. So who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen? What do you guys think about that question? Does that seem to be a trick question? Who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen today? And if you want, go ahead and type a comment, and I will use that as an opportunity to give you a shout out. Who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen today? Let me do something before I continue. Let me go over to YouTube, to the back office, to make sure we're good, because they when I say they are doing all kinds of things to this channel, they're doing all kinds of things. All right. So let me make sure that we are good here. Yep. And they doing a number of things already. So let me just go ahead and do something real quick. All right. They're trying to hinder what we got going on. So let me do this real quick. All right. Let me just do something in the back office. All right. And let me add this here. All right. Bear with me 1 second. I want to just make sure I get all of this in. All right. Let's see what else here. Almost there, family. All right, bear with me 1 second, and I'll check the chat in a second. Let me just do a couple more things here. All right, one more thing. All right. All right, we're almost there. All right, let's take this one out. Let me just go ahead and save this real quick. All right. Just had to do something in the back office here. They had some things disabled that should not be disabled. Remove tags that should not have been removed. So that helps with the viewability and visibility, right, of your videos when you're going live. All right. So I had to make some adjustments there. All right. Let me look at here. Let me look at the chat here. So who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen? So let me look at some of the comments in the chat. Let's see here. Let's start with daily repentance. Let me see if I can get your comment up. There we go. Having a delay here. 1948ers. Okay. All right. Martin, shout outs to you. The Khazars. Okay. Pride of Judas, the small hats. Okay. Essie Yvette, America. Let's see who else we have here. Let's see here. Lillian, the Persians. Who else do we see here? Just going through some of the chat here. I know it's starting to pick up here a little bit. Let's see who else we have here. John Wavy, Satan, Hasatan. Okay, Hashatan. Let's see who else we have here. Amar says here, the mainstream media and propaganda. All right. Let's see. Shout outs to you. All right. Let's see here. Who else do we have here? What other? Okay. Let's see here. Katanga, the umbrella of Babylon. or ideology. Okay, I got you. All right. Let's see who else here. Septuagint, shout outs to you. Oh, it said the Siths. Or you're all right. Appreciate you. Shout outs to Eric Tinsley. I haven't seen you in a while. Really want to say peace and blessings to you. Really appreciate the connection over the years. Hallelujah. Berean Scholar says the colonizers. All right. Shout outs to you, my brother. I'll be dropping the link here in a second. Let's see here. Definitely the tiny hats. Okay, the tiny hats. Admiral Ray, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Like the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. I appreciate you. Let's see here. Gorilla Bear Tech. I'm Assyrian. Chaldeans, Assyrians, and Armenians all have a lot in common. All right, we're gonna give some historical facts here. Appreciate the response here. Okay. Let's see here. Judah says here the Vatican. Okay. All right. So you guys give us some. Really appreciate the responses here. Okay. Let me see. Let's get a couple more in, and we're gonna continue. Howard McIntosh, small hats. Okay, we got enough time for one or two more. Septuagint said the Scythians. That was hard to spell. I get it. Right. Right. That's where you get the name the Siths. Right. Anyway, let's see here. Let's do a couple more here. All right. Larry says Vatican. All right. Elder holding it down in California. Mesopotamian people, I think. Okay. And family, look, I'm it's so much ambiguity that's layered and layered and layered. And we're going to go through that here. All right. We're going to deal with that tonight. Let's see here. Eric Tinsley, Shalom, Pastor Kelly, I believe they are Edom. All right. We're going to address it, fam. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. All right. Let me see if I see a couple more comments here. Want to say shout outs to DMV, says the Catholics. All right. So let's go to get into it, family. Let's answer this question, but I want to kind of build this up, right? I want to really build this up. Who controls how the ancient Chaldean people are seen? Okay. What was the description of the ancient Chaldeans versus now, right? Then versus now, even just as far as 2 or 3 centuries ago. What was their depiction? Well, let's share. I'm just going to share a simple source with you guys. Anacalypse, an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Sadic Isis, Volume 2 by Godfrey Higgins, 1836. Let's see what this old source say about the Chaldeans. Let's see what it says. Let's read what it says. And for those that may not pay attention to the backdrop, this is what that page rip effect is what you see here in the backdrop here. Okay, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. But let's see what it says here. It says here, in consequence of the prejudice, for it is really prejudice against the Negro, or I ought rather to say, against the possibility of a Negro being learned and scientific, arising from an acquaintance with the present Negro character. I admit, with great difficulty, the theory of all the early astronomical knowledge of the Chaldees, look at what it says, having been acquired or invented by his race, and that Chaldees were originally Negroes. Wait a minute. So Godfrey Higgins is recognizing that the ancient Chaldean people were if we use the anthropology or anthropological descriptor that they would use, they'll say of Negroid affinity. So let me read this again. He says this, right? And he's saying that it was hard. This truth is hard to really grasp. It's hard to accept. That's why he said, I admit with great difficulty, I ought rather to say, against the possibility of a Negro being learned and scientific, arising from an acquaintance with the present Negro character, I admit with great difficulty the theory of all the early astronomical knowledge of the Chaldees, having been acquired or invented by his race, and that the Chaldees were originally Negroes. But it didn't stop there. But this prejudice wears away when I go to the precursors of the Brahmins, the Buddhists, and when I reflect upon the skill in the fine arts, which they must have possessed when they executed the beauty and most ancient sculptures in the museum of the Indian house. But look at what it goes on to say here, that the Buddhists were Negroes. The icons of the god clearly prove. So it didn't just stop and deal with the Chaldeans. It also says that the Buddhists were Negroes. And when you understand India of today, at one time it was referred to as Eastern Kush or East Ethiopia. Let me say that again. A lot of you guys may not know this, but the territory today was actually part of Africa. It was Kushite territory. It was Ethiopian territory. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if I have to duck my head down like George Bush Jr. had to duck when the shoe got thrown at him, right? Because I know this truth, just like this person here, this historian here, he said it was hard to grasp. Look at what he says here again. He says, I admit with great difficulty. I know this can be very difficult to understand and embrace because the way that we've been spoon-fed history, anyone but the Negroes. Anyone but the Negroes. We are literally the butt end of the joke everywhere. Okay, so let's go and continue, family. Let's go and continue. Who are the Persians? Who are the Persians? We're going to answer this question. Are they the modern Persians? When I say they, I'm referring to the Iranians. Are the Iranians are they modern Persians? We got to answer this question. What do I mean when I say they are Turkic? What do I mean when I say they are Turkic? Let me give you clarity on that, right? Let me give you clarity when I say they are Turkic. And I'm going to explain that to you, but let me start with just a simple source here. This is coming from a source localizing our journal, an article titled Localizing Ashkenazic Jews to Primeval Villages in the Ancient Iranian Lands of Ashkenaz. Ancient Iranian lands of Ashkenaz. And look at the authors at the top here, just so that way you guys can make sure this is not a pseudo document here. Who do you see here? Aaron Elhake, who were one of the individuals, right? He's a geneticist, world-renowned geneticist, one of many people who proved that the Khazaria hypothesis is not just a hypothesis, it's real. Okay? That's the authors here. But look at how it reads. Look at what it says. An analysis of 393 Ashkenazic, Iranian, and Mountain Jews and over 609 Jewish genomes demonstrated that Greeks, Romans, Iranians, and Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity with Ashkenazi Jews. Wait a minute. So you're saying that this article is saying that the Greeks, the Romans, the Iranians, the Turks, all are connected to the Ashkenazi Jews? That's what it's saying, family. That's really the point I want to make here. When we see Iranians and we see Turks, because some of the ambiguity of history, they'll tell you that Arabs and Turks are two different people. That the Iranians were not connected to the Arabs, but we see genetically that's incorrect. So look at here. It says here, the geographic population structure analysis localized most Ashkenazi Jews along major primeval trade routes in northeastern Turkey, adjacent to primeval villages with names that may be derived from Ashkenaz. And it goes on to say Iranian and Mountain Jews were localized along trade routes on the Turkey's eastern border. Loss of maternal haplogroups was evident in non-Yiddish speaking Ashkenazi Jews. Our results suggest that Ashkenazi Jews originated from a Slavo-Iranian confederation. Slavo, come on now, confederation, which the Jews called Ashkenazic. In other words, an example, Scythian. These Jews probably, family, we cannot put any validity. We cannot put weight behind a probability. Would you guys trust someone if they told you, if you took your car to the mechanic and you said to ask them what's their assessment, can they take care of the work? And he said to you, probably. Does that give you confidence to say that, hey, you trust them to do the work on your car if they say they probably can do it? Would you trust if you had to get, let's just say, dental work? Would you trust the dentist if he said he probably can do you get your teeth squared away? Would you put your trust in a probability? So you have to pay attention to these words, family. These words have meaning. They're there. You got to pay attention to the details here. Though these Jews probably spoke Persian and or Asset, however you want to pronounce it, this is compatible with linguistic evidence suggesting that Yiddish is a Slavic language created by Irano-Turco-Slavic Jewish merchants. Okay, let's continue, family. I'm going somewhere with this. So what do I mean when I say Turkic? What do I mean when I say Turkic? I'm going to break this down for you guys. So make sure we all on the same page here. What do I mean? Okay, let me give you clarity. Ruling authorities often represent or define the identity and direction of an entire people, even when they are not identical to the full population. Let me say that again. Ruling authorities often represent or define the identity and direction of an entire people. In other words, whoever controlled the pages control your thoughts, right? History is recorded through the lens of who? The victors. So ruling authorities often represent or define the identity and direction of an entire people, even when they are not identical to the full population. So when I say they are Turkic, I'm referring, starting with the group of people, right? The ruling powers that have represented and shaped the identity of a nation, even if they are not identical to the entire population. Let me say this again. When I say that they are Turkic, I am referring to ruling powers that have represented and shaped the identity of a nation, even if they are not identical to the entire population. So who controls how the ancient Persians, how the people are seen? Who controls that? Oh, I'm going somewhere with that, family. I want you guys to really grab hold of this. And before I continue, I want to say peace and blessings to the super chat we received. Brother Eric Tinsley, I really appreciate you, my brother, for the love and support Israel for Israel. That's right. We are that we have, family. We're all that we have. Not the 1948ers, not the people that hijacked an identity that don't belong to them, that was never theirs. You know, that group of people that you see, many are now starting to come out the woodworks and start to give expressions and really blowing just blowing this out of water, exposing that they are not the true people, like this guy right here.
Bunch of Aryan-looking people that comes from Eastern Europe and pretends that God gave them the land 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Right. And oh no, we're the real Jews.
Well, what about this judge here?
Without getting too semantic, or at the risk of getting too semantic, does it matter that the Jews are not Semites, or does this phrase anti-Semitism just means hatred for the Jewish people? They're Ashkenazi, they're Eastern European Jews.
I mean, even Piers Morgan had to have this stated to him.
You know, the DNA tests that they've done on the Israelis that are living over there, they're Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews.
Come on, family. They know, the world knows that they are not the real people. They're not the real people. Even Candace Owens had jumped in on it, but I'm not going to play any more clips because I don't want to get sidetracked. But come on, family. So I want to say we all that we have. Want to say shout outs again to Brother Tinsley. Really appreciate you, Ak. Also, we have one that just came in as well. Want to just say, I think it says Nopo, or excuse me if I mispronounce it, but I believe it says Nopo or Nop or no. Excuse me for butchering your name. Charge it to my head again, not to my heart. Really appreciate the love and support, and family. Let's celebrate. Let's give them some love here. Let's show them some love. All right. So let's continue here, family. Let's get back on track. And I'm going to drop the link here in a second, Berean Scholar, and also Sister Carol when I get into this area here. And if even if my cousin Benaiah, if you're in the building, or if my cousin Bishop Brown, if you're in the building, feel free to jump on. All right. So who controls how the ancient Persian people are seen today? We have to answer this question. Who controls this? Who controls the narratives? Who controls how the ancient Egyptian people are seen today? Who controls it, family? So I want to, let me see what clip this is. Yes, let me see if I could do this. Let me see if I could do this. I don't think I enabled the audio. So let me go ahead and remove this here, and I'm going to reshare it. All right, let me reshare it with the audio included. So that way you guys can hear the audio. Let me share it again. All right. There we go. All right. Now, I want you guys to listen to what Dr. Sertima has to say. We're going to make some references to him later on in this discussion, but I want you to hear what he has to say, and let me know if you guys can hear him. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear him. Here we go. Let's see if we could get him going.
Listen carefully.
Can you guys hear him?
Do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. These are two totally different worlds. Here we are in America, and it would be very difficult to find an American in this room. We call ourselves Americans because we are in America. We are American citizens, but there are African
Oh, it stopped. Let me go.
People here, European people perhaps, Asian people, but no Americans. I am part American, I am part Makusi Indian and part African, but it would be difficult to find an American audience that is pure American. That's why Egypt, do you go to Egypt and you said the Arab is not an Egyptian? The people who built the pyramids were not Arabs. I know, man, because I am responsible for returning to the bloody Arabs the splinters of the Sphinx's nose and chin, and the Arabs do not want to remake it because it looks Negro. But we can go into the graves. We can go into the graves and we find the hard evidence. The skeletal evidence is overwhelming. But you see, Egypt was so rich. The Africans were so extraordinary. And they were not superior people. You don't have inferior and superior people. This is what makes you superior and inferior. A certain vision of the world. A certain vision of yourself. Many of us have been destroyed, reduced, because we've been made to accept other people's vision of us.
Now, he gave a very powerful comments there. He made it clear that the people who built the pyramids are not Arabs. It's not the modern people that you see that's dominating the territory, that the government that's ruling, the ruling party, the ruling body of the territory. He made it clear. Now, you guys saw the clip I played earlier of I Show Speed when he was on his African tour, and he got two different explanations about why the Sphinx nose is missing. Listen to it again. I'll play it again. I'm going to play both clips back to back. You heard three different stories, family. The first gentleman said that the nose were destroyed because to prove that they're not gods, so to speak. They're not deities. Then when he went to the museum, see, I Show Speed you could see that he was playing possum, so to speak. I don't want to say play dumb. I don't like to use that term, but he was playing possum. He was playing like, oh, okay, all right. So they chopped off the nose for that? Okay. And so he went and asked someone else, right? 2 or 3 witnesses, right? In order to establish something to be true, right? So he went to the museum and saw another statue. And she gave him 2 different answers. She said, first she said that the nose of every statue is the weakest point of the statue. Come on, family. Some of you guys that know art, you guys, come on now. You guys can pick that apart. I can pick that apart. Right? Then the third thing that you heard was that the previous king did that, right? For power, so to speak. You tell one lie, then before you know it, you have to tell another lie. Come on, family. So this is a quote from Dr. Sertima, and I encourage you guys to get his book. They Came Before Columbus is a powerful book. He said here, do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt. It would be very difficult to find a Native American, and he's using this country as an example, right? It would be very difficult, as an analogy, it would be very difficult to find a Native American in this room. The world has changed dramatically. There have been invasions. The people who built the pyramids were not Arabs, right? He didn't stop there. He continued on. Look at what he says, right? And I'm going to show you another one of his quotes here. So when Sertima says, don't confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt, he's exposing a major flaw in how history is being presented. Let me say that again. When Sertima says, do not confuse modern Egypt with ancient Egypt, he's exposing a major flaw in how history is presented. So he goes on to say in that video clip I shared with you guys, and I have his most of his lecture on the channel under the lecture playlist. He says, I know, man, because I am responsible. So he's making it clear. He was boots on the ground. He first hands-on experience. He can tell you from his experience of exactly what was the issue. He said, I know, man, because in other words, I was boots on the ground. I was there. I was responsible. As he said here, I am responsible for returning the bloody Arabs, the splinters of the Sphinx nose and chin. And the Arabs do not want to remake it because it looks Negro. It looks Negro. It looks Negro. Real quick, I see a couple of super chats that came in. Shout outs to King Vegeta. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you for the words of encouragement. And Vincent Ali, Dr. Sertima taught the truth. Absolutely. So really appreciate the love and support and family. Let's show some love. All right. To our brothers, to our people who are just showing love tonight, for all those who just decided to contribute to what we're doing tonight. Really appreciate you guys. All right. So let's continue here, family. Let's continue. All right. So Sertima uses an analogy. America equals a mixed population, not pure native. He then applies that to Egypt. Egypt today is not the Egypt of the past. That's what he means when he says that in this analogy that he's giving. Like the America that we see today is a mixed population, but not pure native. And we have to understand this is the playbook that we have to make sure we apply this to all the modern territories, the modern constructs and people in association with the ancient. We have to take the same approach. Let's keep it going, family. Let's keep it going. Let's continue here. Okay. So modern populations shaped by later conquests and ruling powers are often projected backward as if they represent the ancient civilization itself. Now you have this reverse engineering. You have this retro theology, right? This retro science. Create something today and backdate it. Allow it to, to go back into time and rewrite and give you the illusions that this is what the ancient people were doing or saying, or their culture. Like when we use constructs like Jew, constructs like church, constructs like rabbinic. Does that make sense, family? Okay, let's continue. So that projection is reinforced not just through writing, but through images, museums, and media. Over time, that becomes the accepted picture of history, even if it doesn't fully reflect the original people. We see that playing out right now, right? The Great Israel Project, that's a prime example. It's not just them wanting to just build up and occupy these territories. They want to rewrite history too. Okay. Ruling powers and later populations become the face of a civilization. And over time, that representation replaces the original identity in public understanding. So who controls how the ancient Egyptian people are seen? See, I'm going to use the ancient Egyptians as the baseline, the playbook. This is important. So I'm going to drop this link real quick to Berean scholar, Sister Carol, as I get ready to go into this area here. It's pretty detailed here, but I'm going to drop this just in case you guys want to jump on. But jump on, feel free to jump on anytime. Let me drop this inside the chat. So who controls how the ancient Egyptian people are seen? Who controls it? I'm going somewhere. There's a reason why I'm asking this question. Let's go to a source here, right? Because I want to make sure you guys start understanding where I'm going at with this, right? Why is this important? This is Outlines of Ancient Egyptian History, 1892, right? By Francois Auguste Ferdinand, excuse me if I butcher it. All right, but page 28. Let's go here. Let's see what he says here. Let's highlight this entry right here. And this is important, family, that we can start building on. Look at what it says. How often do we see Eastern monarchies and even in European states a difference of origin between the ruling class to which the royal family belongs and the mass of the people? We need not leave Western Asia and Egypt. We find their Turks ruling over nations to the race of which they do not belong. It goes on to say, although they have adopted their religion, come on, family, we paint this picture, we laying the foundation. Although they have adopted their religion in the same way as the Turks of Baghdad, who are Finns, now reign over Semites, Turanian kings may have led into Egypt and governed a population of mixed origins where the Semitic element was prevalent. Now, you have to understand too, family, when you start dealing with the word Semitic during that time of this writing, they were not dealing with ethnicity. They was dealing with a language, because Semitic at one time was a language group before the 1948ers took Shemitic and made it into the word Semitic and made it into a ethnicity. You'll see the latest entry in that definition. You'll see Jew at the bottom of it. But prior to, it was just a language group. Real quick, let me bring in Berean Scholar and Sister Carol. They're in the back here. I don't want to keep them, hold them up as we progress here. I want to say peace and blessings to you guys.
Peace and blessings, blood. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
Peace and
Great
blessings,
word.
both of you.
All right, guys, you know how we do. So I'm just going to continue on, but you guys know how we do. If you want to say anything or interject, you guys know what to do. All right, so appreciate you guys.
Amen.
Anytime you want to chime in, just you feel free to do so. Okay. All right, so family, as you see here, it says here, right? As I was explaining language groups, Semites or Semitic was originally a language group. This is why if you go into, let's just say, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, and you look up the word Semitic, right, especially when you're dealing with Hebrew, for us the language rather, not Semitic, but Hebrew, you'll see Canaanite listed there. Okay, but anyway, so let's continue here, family. So it says Turanian kings may have led into Egypt and governed a population of mixed origin where the Semitic element was prevalent. If we consider the mixing up of races, right, and I'm not going to, I think I stopped right there, so we don't have to read it all. Oh, no, I kept it going. Took place in Mesopotamia in remote ages, the invasions which the country had to suffer, the repeated conflicts of which it was the theater. There is nothing extraordinary that populations coming out of this land should have presented a variety of races and origins. But let me give you another source here. The Journal of Cambrian Archaeological Association, Volume 4, 1873, page 73. Let's see what it says here. It's going to prove the same point. All right. It reads, how is that the same? I think I didn't change it. Let me make sure. Yeah, that I messed up here. All right, I'll just read this here. I'll just read what's in the back here. I think those screen rips are not the same. But let me read it here so that way you guys can see. So we can still read it and get the information here. It reads, Mr. Baldwin draws a marked distinction between the modern Mohammedan Semitic population of Arabia and the great Cushite, Hamite, or Ethiopian predecessors. The former, he says, are comparatively modern in Arabia. They have appropriated the reputation of the old race and have duly occupied the chief attention of modern scholars. So basically saying that they hijacked identities. They took a culture that didn't belong to them. That's what this is saying. And again, when we start looking at that word Semitic, don't get caught up in that. Because when you see Semitic, it's amazing how they did this, right? When the historians were using the word Semitic, they was using it as a language group. But once the 1948ers came into play, right? Now you see how people are trying to take these older sources, and now when they see Semitic, they try to make it into a people group. And that's where a lot of the confusion comes into play. Because a lot of you guys may not know that the Babylonians language was Akkadian or Akkadic. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have it here inside the presentation. And that is a what? Shemitic language. So many will automatically say the Babylonians were Shemitic people. No, they weren't. They were Hamitic people. But because of the language group, and you really don't see people really giving you proper clarity on that, you can automatically make the connection by saying they're Shemitic people, when actually they're Hamitic people, especially when we look at the text and see where Nimrod, right? That's Nimrod is a Hamitic person, right? He is descendant of Ham, Akkadian. That's what it is. I couldn't think it off the top of my head. Appreciate it, Aerospike. Akkadian is a Semitic language. But again, language groups, Bantu. Bantu was not a people group. It was initially established as a language group. Anyway, so let's continue here. All right. All right. So who controls how the ancient Egyptian people are seen? So I asked you this question a number of times, right? From some other groups here, starting with the Chaldeans. Now we're getting ready to deal with the Egyptians. And before I go get into the Egyptians, Berean Scholar, Sister Carol, anything you guys want to interject here?
No, keep going.
Yeah, keep going, because this is something we need to do, because we need to peel back these lies.
All right. Appreciate it, my brother and my sister. All right. So let's go ahead and deal with the Egyptians. Okay. We're gonna use the Egyptians as our baseline, right? The Turkic people. The Turkic people. Representation and identity are not always the same, but those in power often define how a people are seen. Let me say that again. Representation and identity are not always the same, but those in power often define how a people are seen. So who controls how the ancient Israelite people are seen? We're going to connect the dots with the Egyptians. We're going to connect the dots with the Israelites, and we're going to use this as a segue of getting into the Iranians, as far as the Persians, the Iranians. We got a lot to cover, family. All right. This is coming from a source called Picture History of Jewish Civilization. So this source is making it clear. It's giving you the appearance of who? The ancient Israelites. It's telling you how they look. So I know many from the church and other places, they'll come up with different labels and say, you're dealing with skin doctrine. So is this skin doctrine when we look at this book here, where we use this as a source, and it says Picture History of the Jewish Civilization, and they give you actual images of how the ancient Israelites originally appeared back during those ancient times? Okay. All right. Page 9. Page 9. Look, we're going to highlight this right here. It reads, the Hebrews in the biblical period, the ancestors of the ancient Hebrews were Semitic nomads wandering across the sun-baked plains or the upper Euphrates in the vicinity of Haran in search of grazing lands and water. But they were not alone. Other people seeking similar means of sustenance, as well as men who lived by the sword, forced them farther and fan her away from their original terrain in what is now north central Syria. The relentless struggle for survival in the land of the two rivers, Mesopotamia, thrust them far too south. Eventually, they came in sight of the great city of Ur of the Chaldees, right? That great city of the Negroes, right? Because we proved that the Chaldees, they were what? Negroes. Okay, let's continue, family. On page 12, this is the caption here for the image that you see above here. It says, the thousands of war captives who were transformed into slaves made it possible for the Egyptian king to implement their feats of engineering. All right, so this is just explaining these captions is explaining the images that you see above here. Doesn't that almost look like a yoke around the neck here? Let me zoom it in. Doesn't that sound like Deuteronomy 28?
Yep.
Doesn't that look like a yoke?
It is.
Do these look like Caucasians? Look at the nose. Look at the lips. Look at their hair.
And the beard.
All right, family. Okay, let's continue. We're going to continue here. Let's go to explaining again more information on what you see on your screen here. The upper row of the painting. Now, this is referring to this right here. Right? It's explaining, this caption here is explaining this image right here. The upper row of the painting from the tomb of Nat at Thebes shows workmen gathering and pressing grapes. The wine was stored in tapered jugs, which bore inscriptions indicating the year, kind of wine, vineyard, proprietor of the vineyard, and the vine dresser. The bottom row shows a hunter with a snare. All right. And then it goes on to say, and we're going to pull that up here. This is dealing with the granary. That's on the next page. And we're going to, and it tells us that in describing that image, that at the right, the taskmaster stick in hand stands over the people to supervise their work. At the lower right, a clerk records the number of sacks of wheat being stored in the granary. All right. So this image right here, this doesn't look like Caucasians here. This is the vineyard right here, right? Look at, and they're taking inventory. But we're going to get even more of an image here to really give a description or depict, really a depiction rather. We're going to have a model that we're going to actually be able to see that's in the British Museum. We will not see this in the country. So let me pull that up here. This is what it's describing here. You see the clerk right here with a stick in the hand. Not stick in the hand. You see the recording the number of sacks here, but you see the taskmaster here with a stick in the hand. Let me zoom this in, family. This is not something we're going to see. You're not going to see this on when people are celebrating Easter, right? The Charlton Heston movie of the 10 Commandments. We're not going to see this imagery. Look at the hair. All right. Let me scroll down. All right. Let's continue here, family. Let's get another image that's going to give you more clarity. All right. The Egyptians became familiar with the horses and wagon after the victory of the Hyksos, right? It goes on to say, in the beginning of the long period of the rule of Asiatic peoples in the land of the pharaohs. This painting on a coffin shows Tutankhamun shooting his enemies from a war chariot from the tomb of Tutankhamun. All right, that's describing this image up here. We'll see it right here as well. These are Shemitic people, right? Because he's supposed to be conquering who? The Hyksos. Okay. All right. Let's go back to some images here, right? You guys tell me here, all right? This image that you see on the screen, model of a bakery. Bread was a staple in Egypt. There were bakeries in which one man milled the flour, another kneaded, and a third brought the bread to the oven. The entire operation was directed by the man sitting in the rear. These are depictions of who? The Israelites. Okay, let's zoom this in. Let me zoom this in. Okay, family. What do you think, guys? Do they look like what we see today? Do these look like the Ashkenazis? I don't see any two curls on the side of the head,
I don't see any
locks or
black
whatever.
suits. I don't see any black suits, black ties,
Small hats.
glasses, the small hats, the top hats, fedora hats,
You
black
don't see
shoes.
any of that because they're quick to say that they were enslaved in Egypt.
And the man in the back, the Egyptian.
Jacked up teeth, bad skin. Nope.
But you don't see any of that. But look at here. You like Berean Scholar pointed out. Look at the taskmaster.
He's melanated.
And if we go back to the image that I highlighted on the previous page, let's go back here. Let's look at how the taskmaster looks here. That's the taskmaster. That's the clerk. These are the slaves. Look at the afros.
They all look the same.
They all look the same.
Oh, wait. They call afros now cloud bobs.
I don't even know. I'm out of the loop on that.
Yes, that's the new one that they came up with.
So family, you see this, right? We won't see these in the museums of the United States. Why is that? They're in the museums in the British Museum, but we won't see these here. All right, let's continue. Let's fast forward here. Okay. All right, let me fast forward here. So who controls how the ancient Egyptian people are seen? We already gave you images of the ancient Israelites and with the Egyptians. I'll say it again, the Turkic people. This guy right here, this is the person right here. This is the person. This guy here is Dr. Zahi Hawass. And I encourage you guys, the book Black Genesis is a great book. The leading Egyptian archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, has released a statement. And remember when the whole Cleopatra thing with Jada Pickett Smith produced or put money into, and they was in such an uproar how Cleopatra was depicted. Well, this guy right here had the caucasity to come out and say this here. Look at what he says. And this is and in the book Black Genesis, he gets exposed in there. Leading Egyptian archaeologists, and real quick too, the 1948ers he's on their payroll. Leading Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass has released a statement online saying that Cleopatra was not black. Right? And then he goes on to say here, right? Because he's the leading he's the leading archaeologist in Egypt. But look at what he says here. Actually, did I put it all here? Oh man, I messed my slides up. This is duplicate here. I didn't put his additional statements here, but it's okay because I have some of it inside this book here. So this is a great source here, guys. Take a screenshot of it. This is Black Genesis, the prehistoric origins of ancient Egypt by Robert Bavald and Thomas Brophy. And why is this important? Right? We know that we're Israelites, but you still have to be able to defend the entire area, because in order to hijack an identity of one people, you have to change the identity of the others. So this is a great book here, but let's highlight a couple of things. And the image that you see in the back here, this is Diop, right? Okay, so we're going to highlight this area right here. Needless to say, right? Actually, we're going to start at the beginning here, but we're going to really place the point of emphasis in what's highlighted in red. Needless to say, with this type of display by the chief of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, SCA, any claim, however, scientific and scholarly, of a Black African origin for Egypt's ancient civilization will inevitably be met with indifference and more likely with opposition. Indeed, Hawass has already made this quite clear with his latest commentaries on the issues, on this issue to the official Egyptian MENA, in other words, news agency. And this is his quote: "The portrayal, of ancient Egyptian civilization as Black has no element of truth to it. Egyptians are not Arabs and are not Africans, despite the fact that Egypt is in Africa." This sounds crazy, right? So according to this kind of logic, though Egypt is in Africa, Egyptians are not Africans. Such blatant contradiction most likely stems from the fact that Hawass probably equates Africans and Blacks, right? Therefore, any connection between the ancient Egyptians and Blacks or Africans must be rejected at all costs, even if it contradicts geographical realities. Perhaps this extreme view clarifies other, less blatant but still puzzling attacks that scholars have made in their academic publishing. Fact, however, are facts. Egypt is in Africa. Egyptians are Africans. And there is now overwhelming evidence that ancient Egyptians have a Black African origin. And family, Israel is in Africa.
Come on.
We went through that last night. I'm not going to reteach what we dealt with last night. And I know this is going to have trolls from within this awakening. Oh no, Israel is not African. Come on, guys, let's stop that. It's in the continent of Africa, period. And if you try to say that it's not, then you are colonized.
Can I say something, Pastor?
Go ahead, my brother.
The key and the operative word in that paragraph is overwhelming evidence. Overwhelming. And for what you just said about people who are trolling about Israel's not in Africa, that's part of the mind wash that we need to get out of. The evidence is overwhelming. I'm thinking about the movie Arnold Schwarzenegger was in, Total Recall, where they took him and wiped his memory, but they didn't want anything to come up that would cause him to remember who he really was. And that's what happened to us as a society, as a people. They don't want us to know who we are. That's why we won't see it. Like you said, we won't see these pictures here in the United States. They don't want anything that will connect us to us. But the evidence is overwhelming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you pointed out, it says here, there is now what? Overwhelming evidence. Now, did we not produce overwhelming evidence last night?
Come on now.
And still had a lot more that we could have presented. So family, it's right in our face. It says here, again, facts, however, are facts. Egypt is in Africa. Egyptians are Africans. And there is now overwhelming evidence that ancient Egyptians have a Black African origin. So this passage shows that the issue is not just about evidence. It's about how identity is defined and defended. So when a leading authority like Hawass rejects the African identity of Egypt, and again, family, we could get into the constructs of the word Africa and Egypt. We know that those are not ancient terms. All right. When you understand the continent of Africa, it went through a number of names. Whatever was the dominant group, the continent was named after. It was at one time called Kush. But anyway, So when a leading authority like Hawass rejects the African identity of Egypt, despite its geography, this reflects a deeper bias in how African is being interpreted. That kind of influence reshapes how history is presented globally. So, family, this is why you saw in the video that I shared earlier of a scientist of I think he is an anthropologist in the video, how he was very disappointed when he saw that Shammai didn't look like a Caucasian. Let me play it one more time.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have told me that Shammai had Nubian feature, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai represented the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
My apologies, guys. I forgot to mute out my PowerPoint, so there was a little echo there. So I hope you still were able to hear it. I couldn't hear it on my end, so that's why I didn't catch it. So blame Berean Scholar for why I didn't catch it. So my apologies. But you heard in his voice the disappointment. Right? I'll play it one more time, family, so that way you can hear it without the echo. Okay? I muted out the my PowerPoint. So for some reason, it treats my PowerPoint as an audio input, and so it adds an echo there for some reason. So I muted it out. So I'll play it one more time. But listen to his disappointment. This is the type of disappointment. This is what we see. This is the playbook. This is anyone but the Negro. You can hear his voice, his tone, and everything changes. And then he used a modern construct of Mediterranean to further cloud and muddy the water. Mediterranean is a word of ambiguity that adds confusion. But anyway, listen to him again.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't.
So, family, that's the song that they sing when they find out it's us. Then all of a sudden it doesn't matter. All right. So again, this is what happens. Those who control the pages, they control the thoughts. Right. And so they are constantly dealing with disappointment when they start going into those places, outside of their comfort zone. So they have places that they would purposely target that they know Europeans were or is. They won't go to those ancient places and really pull out who's who. Like those caves in Israel when they discovered Negroes there. There was not a single Caucasian inside that mountain. Anyway, let me leave that alone. You just gonna say something, Berean scholar?
I had a subscriber who had a friend when he was in college and had the opportunity to go to Cairo on a dig. And he actually seen firsthand some of the things they do when they find evidence that point to stuff they don't want to see.
Absolutely.
I tried to get him to give me the college, the name. He was very vague about it, but it was just another evidence that he know that when he came back, he was disillusioned in his studies, and he changed his studies after that.
And so, and to that point, when you see these so-called excavations being recorded, it's all scripted. They whitewash it before they paint. Hawaz and his team go in and they paint up and they change the images, and then they'll go ahead and go through the show and the dog and pony show. Sister Carol, anything you want to share before I continue?
Oh no, go ahead.
All right. So let's go back to the source, family. Black Genesis, the prehistoric origins of ancient Egypt, right? And this is the bomb that they drop right here. Diop's silver bullet. Now we're dealing with Diop. I didn't put all the information here because this chapter is a lot that I could pull out of here, but I encourage you guys to get this book, right? So Diop's silver bullet. In other words, you guys familiar with the silver bullet, right? When you start dealing with the werewolf, the only way you can kill a werewolf is with what? A silver bullet. So he's saying Diop's silver bullet to the ignorance, to the opposition that he was getting, trying to state that the ancient Egyptians were Caucasians, but his silver bullet, this is his silver bullet, right? However, was the proven scientific method that can determine skin color by the analysis of the melanin content in mummies from ancient Egyptians. And he insists that contrary to the words of Egyptologists, it was entirely possible to determine the melanin content of the ancient mummies by microscopic analysis in the laboratory. Melanin, or more precisely, eumelanin, is a naturally produced polymer responsible for skin pigmentation. It is insoluble, and can be preserved for millions of years, such as in the skin of fossilized creatures. Diop claimed that it can be measured in the skin of Egyptian mummies. Even though Egyptologists lament that the skin of mummies is tainted by embalming material and thus is no longer susceptible to such analysis, Diop rejected this by showing that although the outer epidermis is where the melanin is usually found, melanocytes are particles deeper in the skin where they are not destroyed by the mummification process. But it goes on to say here, right, because they took samples from the common Egyptian mummies, right? And I'm not going to butcher this here, but it goes on to say in Paris, Diop was able to show high melanin levels that are not found in white-skinned people. So the sample that they would normally use, he proved that sample, that mummy that they normally use for their testing, turned out to be a Negro, turned out to have dark melanated skin. Diop wanted to apply the same analysis to royal mummies kept in Egypt, but the Egyptian authorities, starting with Hawaz, refused to give him, refused to give him that authority, give him the okay, right? But the Egyptian authorities refused to give him what? The okay. Okay. It goes on to say here, Diop also reviewed the various statements made by the ancient Greek and Romans who visited Egypt, as did Martin Bernal, later in Black Athena. Diop asserts that if we accept that the ancient Greeks and Roman writer, what the ancient Greeks and what the ancient Roman writers say, and frankly, there is no good reason why we shouldn't. Similar approach that we take here, right? I trust Josephus' works over these modern scholars of the ancient Israelite historical texts. I trust him over them. That's what he's saying here. They trust what the ancient writers, the Greek and Roman writers, described the Egyptians 200 and 300 years ago. And look at what they say here. All right, it says here, then we must conclude that the ancient Egyptians were black-skinned, for these writers leave us no doubt that they saw the Egyptians as dark or black men. Egyptologists, on the other hand, insist that we should not take seriously these ancient writers. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yep.
If they were saying that they were Caucasians, oh, that settles it. But if it says that they look like us, oh, you can't take it serious.
So, like, to me, the whole entire time they've been dealing with skin doctrine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is not nothing new. For them to have to document all this information for a reason that they was trying to remove us by any means necessary. And some things they can't remove because it's so burned into the stone that it's difficult for them to get rid of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he proved that he had a test that bypassed all what they thought would be things that hinder getting an accurate reading.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing, Herodotus, who Diop was taking his word for, is considered to be the father of Greek history, but on that aspect, they don't trust him.
Exactly. And right, and so family, just to that point, some of the quotes are here. All right, from Herodotus, right, to Aristotle, right, 320 BCE, the great philosopher and follower, according here, the father of scientific thinking, speaks rather derogatorily about the Egyptians, but nonetheless shows that he too regarded them as black skin. As he says here, this is his quote, those who are too black are cowards, like, for instance, the Egyptians and Ethiopians. But those who are excessively white are also cowards, as we can see from the example of women. The complexion of courage is between the two, brown or tanned. But you see some additional other historians that are used here. So we're not going to get into all of that, but I just wanted to share this real quick. All right. I see someone in the back here. Someone jumped on in the live. I'm not having an open live tonight. This is just for Berean Scholar and Sister Carol. But the next live we do, we'll allow others to come in. But we just don't have the live up for open discussion because I just want to make sure we address what we all need to address. So I don't want to hold you up in the back, but feel free to jump on our next live that we do because I will open that up. All right. I will open that up for others to jump on and share your thoughts. Okay. But let's go to continue, family.
Pastor, can I say something for a moment?
Go ahead.
That last statement you just stated about what was his name? The philosopher.
Aristotle.
Yes, him. What he just stated is what the same mentality that we carry in our brains today and have carried from century to century to century, is that the darker you are, the more ignorant, the more lazy, the more no good, the more anything that's derogatory about you is what you are. But if you brown and you light skinned, then you good, you smart, you get all privileges, you get this, that, and the other. That's the mentality that has been carried on from there to now.
Exactly. That's why they're comfortable with the term Mediterranean
Exactly.
or
That's right.
olive, right?
Yes.
Or an Arabic type of
Yes.
appearance. Because
Yes.
that's what we would call gray area.
Correct.
But as you see here, like, for example, Aeschylus, excuse me if I butcher his name. Look at what it says here. It says, I can see the Egyptian crew with their black limbs and
Mm-hmm.
white tunics. Apollodorus, it says here, Aegyptos conquered the country of the black-footed ones. Right? So it's plenty of examples here. Some of them is kind of grayed out here, but we have plenty of examples. But yeah, anyone and anything but the Negroes. They were rather, as remember, we did the lesson ages ago. Sister Carol caused a lot of anger when I did that lesson. Anyone but the Negroes would rather worship a Martian Christ than a Negro Messiah.
Correct. And even in the, I'm gonna go here. It's funny because it connects, because even the Greek letter organizations, especially the black ones, they do the same skin doctrine. The AKAs were always the light skin. They all now they got a little pepper color in there now, but in the beginning, it was all the high yellow light skinned girls. The deltas were the brown skinned girls. They weren't dark, but they were brown, chocolate. When you got down to what was the name of that other group? That's when you got the Zetas were dark, that blue black dark. And then he went on, and then the same thing with the guys, with the male fraternities. That same mentality, but it was under the guise of Greek. So it's that same nonsense that started here. It just evolved into all of this,
Absolutely.
and we're still doing it.
And even then, it was a Negro pastor that came up with the paper bag rule.
Yes, exactly.
So
and they still do that in Louisiana.
exactly. So, and he did that for his church family on the members that they were going to put money into to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Those that was the complexion of that paper bag and lighter, they invested in, and they had them sit at the front of the church.
They had more privilege. That's right.
And those that was darker than that brown paper bag,
in the back,
they sat in the rear and
That's
in the
right.
balconies.
Exactly.
All right. So here's some additional lies, family, because we're getting there. But like we said, we're using the Egyptians as the model, the baseline, right? This is, remember, you guys remember this so-called bust of Nefertari they supposedly discovered. This hoax here, right? This is Nefertari, right? This deceptive modern day Egyptologists want you to believe she would have looked like this right here. This is what they tried to say is an image of Nefertari, right? But let's go to some actual images. That's her right there. Big difference, right, family? And this is her assistant here, Dame Ray, nursemaid to Queen Ahmose's Nefertari. All right, let's continue. So are there any other proof that the Egyptian skin complexion was very dark? I'm glad you guys asked. We got plenty of sources here, but this source here, Anthronotes, National Museum of National History newsletter for teachers. All right. We're just going to highlight just a couple of bullets here so we can keep this train moving. But the section where it says here, the roots of ancient Egypt. Who were the ancient Egyptians? Should the origins of their magnificent achievement be sought in the Middle East or in Africa? Were they themselves white or black? These questions have been disputed by scholars since the beginning of written history. Most recently, anthropological studies of human remains from Northeast Africa, together with new archaeological evidence from Egypt and Nubia, offer us a new understanding of Egyptian origins in which Africa played a major role. All right, here's another source, Africa and Egypt pre-1945 views. All right, this is coming from the section of the same book here, source here, but look at what it says here. All right, this is in a different section of the same source, excuse me. So it says here, early writers described the Egyptians as dark-skinned and woolly hair. Herodotus, right? With origins in or close ties to ancient peoples and cultures of Ethiopia. Make reference to Diodorus as well, right? Confirming this. In the 18th century, ancient Egyptian civilization was rediscovered by travelers and plunderers from Europe, whose view of the ancient Egyptians was drawn largely from Egyptian art. In the absence of scientific archaeology or a code for deciphering hieroglyphic writings, after viewing the undamaged profile of the Sphinx, which the French author De Volney describes as Negro in all its features, as Sertima confirmed, right? He wrote, just think that this race of black men today, our slave, and the other object of our scorn, is the very race to which we owe our arts, sciences, and even the use of speech. Just imagine, finally, that it is in the midst of the of peoples who call themselves the greatest friends of liberty and humanity that one has approved the most barbarous slavery and questioned whether black men have the same kind of intelligence as whites. He dropped the mic right here. So why did I set this up, family? Because we can ready to transition over to the Persians now. I'm kind of like slow walking this so that way you guys can put everything in its proper perspective. We dealt with the Egyptians. We dealt with the Israelites. Now let's deal with the Persians. You guys ready to deal with the Persians? So many would go to Ezra, and I'm not going to go too deep in it because this could take some time, because I do want to get to some key information here. So if we go to Ezra chapter 1, verse 1 through 4, right? It reads, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh was by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, Yahweh Elohim of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he shall charge me to build him an house at Yarashalam, in other words, Jerusalem, which is in Yahweh, in other words, Judah. Who is there among you of all this people, of all his people? His Elohim be with you. Let him go up to Yarashalam, Jerusalem, which is in Yahweh, Judah, and build the house of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. He is the Elohim, which is in Jerusalem, Yarashalam. Verse 4. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver, gold, goods, beasts, beside the free will offering for the house of Elohim, and that is in Yarashalam, in other words, Jerusalem. All right. So when Cyrus the Great Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon around 539 BCE, he issued a decree allowing the displaced, including Israelites, to return to their land. Right. So the Mede Persian rulership was led by the man called the Shepherd King. And I'm going to knock down some stuff that many I see circulating around our brothers and sisters trying to give props to the Iranians, assuming that they are the Persians. And I'm here to tell you, and this is not the one, no hatred or diss towards the Iranians, but I want to make sure we understand history. And I want to make sure you understand that even though the Most High used the Persians to accomplish certain things with the Israelites, but the Israelites were still under Persian captivity. They were still subjected to the Persians. They were not free to go and do whatever they choose to do. They were still being afflicted by the Persians. And I'm going to prove it to you with just a few passages. Before we continue, anything, Berean scholar, Sister Carol, before I continue?
No, you're rolling, brother. Keep going.
All right. So the Mede Persian rulership was led by the man called the Shepherd King. When we go to Isaiah 44:28, we'll see the Shepherd King. And for those that may not be familiar with the book of Isaiah, right, his works, right, you'll see that the first part of Isaiah, probably I want to say up until probably chapter 40, That's addressing the Israelites were the northern kingdom was under the Syrian captivity, but the threat was coming to the doorsteps of the southern kingdom. But when we get to the latter part of the book of Isaiah, now you get into it, that was written during the Babylonian captivity. So just to make sure we put things in its proper context. So here it says, that saith Cyrus, he is my shepherd and shall perform all my pleasures, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple, thy foundation shall be laid. So the Most High is going to use another nation to help restore key things of Israel, just like he used other nations to chastise Israel. All right, we'll get to that point here in a second. So what was actually accomplished under the ancient Persian captivity? Now, I'm not going to go too deep in this because it could take some time, but I'm just going to highlight 3 key points, but I'm not going to go into the details of them. But 3 key events took place during the Mede-Persian rulership, right? This is what was accomplished. Number 1, the restoration of the temple. All right. Number 2, the restoration of the royal bloodline. Because if you guys remember, Jehoiakim, because of his sins, his royal bloodline got judgment was passed against it, and the Most High removed his signet ring. In other words, he no longer had the authority as a king. But by the time we get to Jerusalem, I think it's at Jerubbaal, rather. By the time we get to Jerubbaal, who is the grandson of his, the Most High restored. And that's during this period here. He restored him. Right, restored the bloodline, and this is important because when you read Matthew chapter 1, you'll see the bloodline. You see Zerubbabel. You will see Jehoiakim listed there. Why? Because through Zerubbabel and his faithfulness, the entire bloodline was restored, in which the lineage of Hamashiach comes through. So I just gave you a quick explanation on that, so that way we can kind of save some time here going through this. And these passages explaining exactly what I just broke down. So I'm not going to read all of this for the sake of time. I'm going to fast forward here. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right. Let's see here. Okay. And this is dealing with them. In other words, when I say them, the Israelites being restored, going back to Jerusalem, but they're still under their, when I say they're still under, the Israelites still under the Persian authority. Let me fast forward here. All right, let me get to here. You guys know I, put a lot of research in this stuff, and I try to have more than enough information. So if I had to explain it, I can. So I don't need to explain all of this. And for those that may not know, there were 3 invasions of the Babylonians that Jeremiah highlights. All right. But nevertheless, let me see here. This is where I want to get into this point right here. All right. Right. The punishment, right, for Israel, right, after the second invasion, they was told to go back to Jerusalem, go back to Israel, go back home. But instead, they decided to go to Egypt to find safety. And so the Most High declared that he was going to judge them, pass a judgment on them. So nevertheless, the punishment was for all of Judah, but a remnant escaped and returned to the land of Judah. And that's what I'm referring to here, and Jerusalem. Okay. So by this time, according to this judgment, the land of Judah and Jerusalem was in ruins. This is when we now transitioning to Nehemiah. All right, I'm not going to read all of this. This is just confirming what I just read. All right, but let me fast forward here. All right, so this is one point. I didn't put the map up here. If Israel was set free from the Persians, why was the land of Judah named Yehuda Medinata? Right? This lets you know that that the land of Israel was considered a Persian province, just like it was a Roman province, just like it was a Greek province, because the people had to pay taxes. They was they were subjected to the ruling party. But let's continue here, family. It's because Judah, again, was governed under the larger Persian imperial system. Okay. If the Persians freed Judah, why leaders like Zerubbabel and Nehemiah operated under Persian authority? It's in the scriptures. If the Israelites, well, the fact of the matter, if they were so free, why do we have recorded that the Israelites paid tribute, or should I say taxes, to the Persians? Now, listen to how they describe their relationship with them. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 36 and 37. Let's see if they are in a good, pleasant state, like many of our brothers and sisters today try to imply that, oh, the Persians, they was our friends. Oh, they was our buddies. Oh, don't nobody talk about the Persian. Now I'm getting into Bonita Buttrill, her voice in my head. All right. Don't nobody talk about Miss Johnson. Don't nobody talk about Miss Johnson. I just love some Miss Johnson. Anyway, so behold, we are servants this day for the land that thou gavest unto our fathers to eat the fruit thereof and the good thereof. Behold, we are servants in it. So here it is. Israel have this land returned. They restoring the temple. They restoring Jerusalem, but they are still what? Slaves in their own land. That's what this is saying. But here's the kicker. Here's verse 37. And it yielded much increase unto the kings. This means that they are what? Paying taxes. Whom thou hast set over us because of our sins. Also, they have dominion over our bodies. Does that sound like they feeling really good here? Does that sound like they are free here? Look at what it says. And over our cattle at their pleasure. And we are in great distress. Wait a minute. Come on, guys. Did I miss something? Do they sound like they are free? That they're liberated? That they're just having a great old time with their buddies, the Persians? Am I reading this wrong, Sister Carol, Berean scholar?
Nope.
Great distress means distress.
Come on, family. We have to do better, man. We got to stop jumping on all these bandwagons. I get it that, far as the issues that we have against this country, because I have issues. But I'm not jumping on somebody else's bandwagon either that have issues with our community. The United States don't care about us. Iran don't care about us. Russia don't care about us. China doesn't care about us. The other nations, all these other nations don't care about our people. We have to start caring about ourselves and stop trying to get others to love us like Doc Rivers. I don't know why the country that I love don't love me back. Man, no. We don't need leaders crying like that. We need to come together and say, we don't need you guys. We need the Most High. We need the Father. We need His Son. We're gonna rally together. We don't need you to give us a picture of your image of a Messiah that's foreign to our culture, foreign to the scriptures. Anyway, let's continue, family. I'm about to, what the old school say, I'm about to have a conniption fit. So, the rebuilding of the temple required Persian authority. Why did the Israelites have to have Persian permission in order to do something that should be rightfully and naturally theirs? So the rebuilding of the temple required Persian authorization. Opposition from surrounding peoples had to be resolved through the appeals to Persian kings like Darius and Xerxes the first. If the Persians set the Israelites free, why did Nehemiah himself say that he was the king's cupbearer, a direct servant of the Persian king? I'll bring up the passage here. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 11. O Yahweh, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant for this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man. Who's the man? For I was the king's cupbearer. He's enslaved to the king. So what Persia So what Persia practiced was not liberation, it was strategic tolerance, because they didn't liberate the Israelites. They took over what the Babylonians had them in debt, in captivity. When the Persians conquered the Babylonians, guess what? The Egyptians stayed in captivity to the Persians. So if the Persian was so good to the Israelites, why is there a judgment against them? Okay, let's prove it. Zechariah chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. Come on, family. It's right in our face. It's right in our face. We could go right to the scriptures and see and get clarity. Get these answers. Stop letting people toss you to or fro with this every wind of doctrine. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, cry thou, saying, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I but a little displeased, and they held forward the affliction. So it says, who are the heathen? It said the heathen are at ease. In other words, the other nations are at ease. Who are they? What nation are they referring to? Guess what, family? It's referring to the Persians, because they were under captivity to them during this time. Let's prove it. In context, this includes the current ruling power of the time that this scroll was written during Zechariah's time, namely the Persian Empire under Darius the First. So when Yahweh says, I am displeased with the nations that are at ease, he is including the present imperial system, not just the past empires like Babylon or the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and Egyptians. He's including the Persians at that time of the writing, who they was subjected to. And it goes on to say, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Yahweh, right? Allowed judgment on Israel, but the nations, including the ruling empires, went beyond what was allowable. Now you get into the understanding of what the four horns are. Those are nations that went overboard. And each nation that took over brought judgment on the previous nation. So the Persians went overboard. They were allowed to bring chastisement to the Israelites, but they went overboard, right? So the Persians and any supposed descendants of them should never be framed as a savior or an ally of our people, the true Israel. So why are the modern Arab countries, right, confused with ancient empires such as Babylonians, Assyrians, and Persians? Any comments, family, before I get into this here? Why are they confused? Why are the Arab countries, right? Why are they being confused with ancient empires?
I wish you had the map, brother.
I'm gonna bring up the Persian map here.
Good, because we need to tear this off, because people see these things, see this different, because we've been lied to so much.
Family, they have got layers and layers of misinformation that they've been feeding us.
Come on, brother.
Sister Carol, anything you want to say before we continue?
No, you're absolutely right. They have made everything be Arab, and they're not.
And you have Arab, and then you have Turks.
Yep.
Two groups of ambiguity that groups of people that is very generic.
Mm-hmm.
That they try to make it as if they're two different people.
Correct.
And to answer one of the comments in the chat, that the Persian that you see in the scripture in Esther, that's not the Persian of this that we see today. They're not the people we see in the same land today.
The same.
No,
same land and like that. The same land today.
So this is the playbook, family. I'm glad you guys mentioned that, because look on the screen in my notes here, right? That confusion happens because people collapse geography, language, and later identity into one category when historically they are not the same. So this is what using changing the maps, changing how you understand history, even though we have scriptures to prove it, even though we can use their own text to prove that they are what rewriting history. It's not just the Ashkenazis, all of those people have hijacked a culture that did not belong to them, and now doing the playbook of the Romans, the playbook of the Greeks, making it appear as if they're the originators of that culture.
It's like the Palestinians. It's not the real Palestinians that's over there.
Exactly. That was created from the Romans.
That's right.
The Romans created the name of the Palestine. They renamed that was Judah's territory.
Mm-hmm.
So they what? They kicked us out.
Yep.
Murdered so many of us, hung us,
Yep.
and all kinds of crazy stuff.
And then
we fled deeper into Africa. And
Right.
what did they do? They changed that purposely to what? Take our identity, to erase us.
Right. And the little ones and the little bit that's left there, they have totally have oppressed them so that you don't even see them.
Exactly. All right, family. So we here's the map. This is man, the Persians, and as you see here at the top here, this gives you the expansions and all, right? So it starts off here, right, in 559 BC. Let me zoom it in. Oops, wrong one. It starts here. But look at how they expanded. All of this was under the Persian control. All of this territory. Look at here. We're going all the way to India.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All of this was Persian territory. All up here. That's, man, they ruled a lot. They ruled. You see the Black Sea. That is huge. And if you want to take it even a step further, especially, see, when we start getting into the labels, remember we dealt with it last night, when we deal with the Arabian or Arabs or the Levant or the Middle East or the Near East and the Fertile Crest, all these modern constructs that they created to what? Assign a new identity to the entire region. But you'll see who? The Arabs, which is still connected to the Turks. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that. But you see that they pretty much control North Africa and all these areas here. All right. Same land, but not the same people. I want y'all to really think about that, family. Same land, but they're not the same people. Ancient empires like the Babylonian, the Assyrians, Persia, existed in regions that today include Iraq, Syria, and Iran. These modern countries sit on top of ancient lands, but populations, cultures, and identities have changed many times over thousands of years. Right? Excuse the typo here. Now, this is the Islamic conquest or the Arabic conquest. Look at all of this. Come on, family. But because the way that we've been programmed to view history of today, we do their dirty work for them. All right.
And this in this time will be considered as the Moors.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the large area they controlled.
And remember Ishmael. This is his people too, as well.
Oh, well, see, this is where we had to give clarity, Sister Carol, because these are not the same people.
No, I'm talking about for as the territory at that time.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
his
yeah. I just wanted to
territory.
give
No,
you
not
clear.
now. No,
Yeah.
not now. I'm talking about back then. It was Ishmael, his people, that was his territory. And our other crazy uncle Esau.
Well, also Shem, because some of
And
this area
Shem.
is Shem as well. So
Right. Because Africa covered a big portion. It got to have it so chopped up. A lot of that land is all part of Africa.
exactly, because again, Africa. This is India over here, family, but
Right.
India was East Ethiopia.
Right.
So that tells you that Africa extended all the way out here.
Mm-hmm. To Lebanon, all the way
All of
over
this is
Yemen.
Africa.
Yep.
And during the biblical time, that was all melanated people for what you see.
Correct.
Exactly.
They weren't all Shemites. They were all Hamites, but they're all melanated.
And I want to turn you guys' attention to this area here. And family, this is so important, right? Look at this area right here. This is just dealing with the Arabic invasions. Look at the amount of invasions that took place. It's even more starting at around 70 AD, 88, around that time. But look at this. This is dealing with the Arabic. This is dealing with the Muslims, right? Look at all of these invasions. And you're going to tell me that you believe that the ancient Persians stayed intact? This is why they use descriptors like Turkic and Arabs, because those are like generic constructs. All right.
Could you zoom in on where that Iraq is right now? And the people there today are not the people who was there during biblical time.
Exactly.
That's what we did. That's what we did get in our minds.
And family, look at where Antioch is, right? And who is over that?
A man named Strong's.
Exactly. Right. Come on, family. We're giving you perspective. When we look at Alexandria, that's Egypt.
Hippos, Clemens of Hippos, huh?
All right. So let's continue. So what and when was the rise of the Arab identity? The term Arab in the modern sense largely comes from the spread of Islam beginning in the 7th century. So really, the label Arab, it really just refers to language. Arabic. That's all it just refers to an Arabic language. That's all it refers to. The term Arab in the modern sense largely comes from the spread of Islam beginning in the 7th century under Muhammad. The rapid expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate and later caliphates and the spread of the Arabic language culture. So this process is called Arabization. Okay, so people in Iraq or Syria today are often called Arabs because they speak Arabic and share cultural history from Islamic empires. But that does not mean that they are the same as the ancient Babylonians, the same as the ancient Assyrians. And so the Babylonians and Assyrians, right, they are considered Semitic by way of the language group. But their own language, but with their own languages, such as Akkadian and identities, right? So they really, the point that I'm making, I typed it up all crazy here, but the Babylonians and Assyrians, they have the label of being Semitic or Shemitic, not because of bloodline, but it's their language. Because initially they was using that word as a language group. But by the time we get to like the 18th century, the 19th century, these 1948ers added an entry there to shift it from a language group to being a people group. And I'll show you here. Semitic, of or relating or to or constituting a subfamily of the Afro-Asiatic what? Language. So Shemitic was a language group. Families that include Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, Amharic. These again, language groups of or relating to or characteristics of the Semites. But then look at, we see this entry right here. You know that old electric company, one of these things do not belong here. One of these things are not the same. One of these things do not belong here. Now it's time to play our game. That third entry is a forced entry. All right. All right. I'm going to say this. Whoever your name is, I can't pronounce it. Huthanasi. I already went over this here. I encourage you to go back over the lesson that I gave here. And what you're posting here, I already addressed that. So yeah, the government, because of the multiple invasions, they dictate and determine the identity. And yes, they literally took over Iran. Iran went to, and I'm going to prove it with Iran, the Iranians' own website. Multiple, man, they went through a number of invasions. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this out here. Let's bring this out. I already went over this. So look at the Oxford Dictionary definition of Semitic. Look at what it says here. Relating to or denoting a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician, Akkadian, constituting the main subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic family. But what do we see here, family? It starts with what? A language group. And if I had some of my dictionaries in front of me, I can show you and put it up on the screen and read that Canaanites, which are a Hamitic people, you'll see them listed under Hebrew. And they'll tell you that because of the language itself, not because of bloodline.
Right.
Anyway, so go ahead, Marine Scholar.
I'm just looking at the definition of what language they did not put in.
All right, go ahead, Marine Scholar. What language you see missing?
Paleo.
Well, see, it all goes up under Hebrew. They kind of conflated to put it all together. Unfortunately, they don't make a distinction.
Conflation of when people see Hebrew, they think of what you see today. The same thing we say with the people. The same what we say with the people.
Exactly.
Not the language like we've been the videos we talked about in the past. The language we saw written on the walls in the caves on the Judea. The language we saw was written on the stones. It was Paleo.
Exactly. So I see the question here, and I'm getting there, family. Is the modern Iranians the ancient Persians? I'm going to tell you emphatically no. I gave you sources. I used the Egyptians as the example of how you have the Turks came in, hijacked the people, invaded the people, right? And took over everything, took over their identity, took over everything. And we see that today and chased out the Egyptians. Most of the Egyptians went further into Africa. And as Sister Carol pointed out, even in Israel, you don't see this Israel today. Let me show you the Israel that was there in 1925. You don't see not even a close resemblance of this. And we're just talking 1925. Let me play this video real quick. Where's the video? I thought I had it here. All right, here we go. All right. We don't see that. We don't even see not even a pinch of a resemblance of that, as Sister Carol pointed out. So to be blunt, no, these are not the same people. No. And I'm not saying that as a form of disrespect. It's just the reality.
Exactly.
And let me prove that here. All right. We already showed you guys the DNA earlier. But the so-called land of Iran experienced a number of Arab invasions, as I shared with you guys in the map. Look at this here. You have in 66 to 750 AD, the Arab invasion of Iran brought forth a new dynasty of caliphs, the Rashidun, excuse me if I mispronounce this, caliphs are the title given by Sunnis to the first rulers after Prophet Muhammad. All right, but remember, this label Arab, right, is based off of language. All right, so then it goes on to say, it goes on to say here, Sunnis believe that the Islamic virtues flourished during the caliphate eras. With the ruling of the caliphs, Iran's culture and religion transformed from Zoroastrian to Islam. All right. Here's another one. After that dynasty, right, you had the Tahirid dynasty. Became the first government of Iranian descent after the Arab invasion and brought back the Iranian title. All right, I'm just giving you guys some history here, just naming some different dynasties. The Safarid dynasty, right, who rebelled against the Tahirids, excuse me, and conquered Sistan province. Okay, it says this dynasty became the first independent Iranian government after Islam. Okay, here's another one, right? Come on, family, and look at the wording here. And this is Iran. This is an Iranian source here. It says here the Samanids Empire or Samanids were a Persian-speaking dynasty. It doesn't say that they're Persians. It says that they are what? Persian-speaking. So you got to pay attention to the details. I speak English, even though it's not the true English. If we want to be real, family, the real English is overseas. But does that mean that I'm from England?
I had an argument.
Go ahead, sis.
No, I was going to say I had an argument earlier on Instagram on a video of Prime Minister Gouda Meir. I don't know if you guys remember her. I don't know what the age group is on this live, but she was the prime minister back in the late 60s, 70s, if you will. And she was complaining about that she was a Palestinian, but she is from Russia. Her name is Matrovich. and just because you move to Palestine or whenever y'all move to Palestine, that's just where you live now. That's not who you are. I'm a Texan. I live in America, but that's not who I am. That's just where I live.
Exactly.
Your bloodline.
Exactly. So, family, as you see, these are what? These are still what? Arabic invasions. But because they were able to, according to their source, a Persian-speaking dynasty. Anyway. All right. Let's see here. Here's another one. Alawites. The Alawites were the descendants of Imam Ali, who reigned for 66 years. The Alawites also succeeded in establishing rule in some regions of the Islamic lands. It gives you some areas here. All right. And it goes on to say the Ziyarids, or Ziyarid, however you pronounce it, was a small Islamic family who lived in the lands near the Caspian Sea. What's near the Caspian Sea? All right. Then we had the Bayid dynasty, 1934 to 1062. The Bayid dynasty was a Shittite dynasty that ruled parts of Iran and Iraq from 934 to 1062. All right. So who are the Persians and who are they connected? I mean, are they connected to the modern Iranians? I gave the answer, which they're not. The Iranians experienced repeated waves we went through the Arab, but also the Turkic conquest, military dominance, and dynastic rules over a largely non-Turkic population. Here's some of it, some of the Turks. All right. I believe this is like Ghaznavids. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Were a Persian speaking. Doesn't that sound familiar? Say Persian speaking. Doesn't mean that they're Persians. It says that they are what? Speaking the language.
Speak the language.
Period. I'm Palestinian, but I'm Russian. I'm Jewish by blood, but I'm Russian.
Come on, family.
That don't make any sense.
You speak a language doesn't make you the people.
No.
If I speak Spanish, doesn't mean I'm from Puerto Rico.
Are you Mexican?
Even though my grandfather is Cubana.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, all right. Muy bien, okay.
Cubana, you know.
Me no black. Me no black.
Okay, all right.
Don't talk to me like that, okay?
Okay,
No, anyway, family, but the point that I'm making here is just because they're speaking a language that's supposed to be Persian doesn't mean that they are Persians. This is where you have to really pay attention to what is being written here. Like they say, the devil is in the details. Pay attention to the details. Pay attention to the word selections. So look here, the Persian language poets, and played an important role in supporting and developing the Persian language. And what you have what is called Farsi, which is supposed to be, according to historians, that it's a Persian language, but it used Arabic letters. I'm not sure, Sister Carol, if you remember when we was dealing with that, with the church in Savannah. And they were trying to say, when someone was trying to make the assumption that it may be Farsi on the pews.
On the pews, yeah.
And the professor made it clear it's not Farsi on the pews. So Farsi looks like it uses the Arabic letters.
Right.
All right. So this is the first time, like this is the first major Turkic political foothold inside Persian lands, right? Now we're dealing with another group, the Seljuk Empire. Come on, family. Empire after empire, right? This marked the beginning of widespread Turkic political control of Iran, right? Who controls the ancient Persian people? Controls how the ancient Persian people are seen? I gave it an answer. It's the Turks. Should we be excited about the Iranian propaganda machine? I proved it. Even if let's just say hypothetically they are the Persians. Should we be excited about that? Because they are showing a video or have videos that's placing or giving the perception that they care about our plight? I know many would default to what happened with the Iranian hostages. Oh yeah, you know, they let go the Negroes. They let them go after 2 weeks of being held hostage because of Reverend Jesse Jackson. But he still held them hostage for 2 weeks. Why did they hold them hostage? Period. If they understood our plight.
Because they were Americans.
No, my point is, I understand that.
Right. I know.
But no, if they understand our plight, regardless of being Americans or not, they know that we are born in this country. They know that we're suppressed. But why did they still hold them as hostage? They weren't going to just release them.
No.
That's the point that I'm making.
And can I interject one thing?
Go ahead, my brother.
The same thing you and I have been talking about what's happening now. What they did then was a slap in America's face when they had released them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Alatola did discuss why he did that, because I remember he was interviewed. He said, I understand they struggle. I don't have any problem with them, but I had to hold them because I had to hold the cards of the United States.
They were calling out the United States in their face to show that y'all can't say we're bad. Y'all just as bad.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. I got to hold the cards of what you are.
But the point that I'm making is, guess what? They had us as slaves too.
Of course.
They enslaved our ancestors too. It's like the someone pointing the finger like you're bad. And they say, no, I'm not as bad as you, but you still say you still admitting that you're what? Bad.
Okay, Michael.
See, but you see my point where I'm going at is I really don't care about, all the other stuff, the layers of it. They still held our people as slaves. The reason why, and this is the truth of the matter, is because we are so insignificant. We're not a threat to them.
No.
I've been to these countries.
Right.
And I know what they play on. Back when I went to these countries, they were still playing shows like Amos and Andy. They viewed our people as being uneducated. They viewed our people as being just what you see that how he was being portrayed on television back in the 40s and 50s. Come on, I've been to those countries, and I know for sure any military person would confirm everything that I'm saying. It's all propaganda. But the problem is because many of our brothers and sisters don't understand those dynamics, even what we just discussed with the political side. They didn't care about our people. They were used as a tool.
Which is what we always have been, a tool.
Exactly. But anyway, should we be excited about the Iranians' propaganda machine? Come on, family. Do they really care about us? I'm going Michael right here. Do they really care about us? No.
Come on now.
Did Michael twice. Who's bad?
Shame on.
All right, I'm not going to get back into that. I touched on this. This is with the guy video.
Oh, yeah.
That we did with the Iran. But I want to get to this point.
Where is he tonight?
I'll deal with that another. I'll probably deal with that tomorrow. I'm not going to deal with it tonight. All right. So look at here. I'm just showing you guys, family. The Arabic slave trade went on all the way up. It's still going right now. I'm not even going to say it ended. It's still going on. They were major pillars, have been major pillars in the Arabic slave trade. I just put a source here. These are slaves. These are eunuchs.
Indeed.
Let me fast forward here. Come on, family.
Mm-hmm.
They contribute to what you call it? Castrating.
Mm-hmm.
They're slaves, men and boys, starting at the age of 7, in which 60% of them died. This is a slave and his son right here. And we want to sit here and try to jump on bandwagons, but yet we'll slam each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. This slave girl here, this is like a toy here, like a doll for them. Like how they were doing us here, family, you guys that are watching here. They treated our children in some cases as if they were like a doll.
A pet.
Exactly. Had a leash on them. I'm just showing some images here, family, giving you clarity. All right. Excuse me.
Look at the shrine in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, did I have another one here? Yeah, here's a couple of additional ones. All right.
If you didn't know any better, you think that was America.
Those shrine in his hand.
No, they're just the pictures, the images. You would think
No, I
all
got-
this was America.
And I got images. I just didn't want to show because it's graphic. Of showing them having castrating a boy,
Mm-hmm.
a boy missing his genitals,
Oh,
a man missing his genitals. It's gross, family. And we're going to sit up here try to pump them up as being a savior, having our best interests. They're doing the same playbook like Abraham Lincoln did. He didn't free us with the Emancipation Proclamation. He used that to try as a tool to try to get our ancestors that was in the South to rebel.
and to reiterate, Pastor, and I don't want to jump ahead of you. Stop me if I am. These people, like we said, it's not the same people that was in this region. Those people came from the east, migrated down into that region and took over.
Exactly.
Those people had the same tendencies everywhere they went.
You see the same behaviors. Many of our ancestors were forced to fight in their armies. Family, man, this is just the clean stuff that I'm sharing with you guys right now. Did I put it here? Now let's just highlight real quick. There's this source right here, which is a great source, right? The Color Black: Enslavement and Erasure in Iran by Beta. I'm not going to butcher her name, but nevertheless, what this is doing is exposing how the Iranians, especially many of their authors, will rewrite history. They'll talk about what other people have done, or they'll call out the United States, but they won't talk about how they treated and continue to treat our people. Let me see if I have that source here. Yeah, let me see here. This is one of the sources. All right. This is the reason why you see Malcolm X. And this is going to explain this here, right? Reza Shah, Mohammed Reza Shah, introduced revisionist narratives of race and enslavement, minimizing or ignoring Iran's history of slavery. References to slavery were removed from textbooks and sources of knowledge and replaced by narratives focused on other countries' experiences with slavery, particularly Black Americans. Iranians in the 1960s and the 1970s became familiar with U.S. civil rights and Black power movements. through various media, including newspapers and translations of Malcolm X's autobiography. The Iranian press highlighted Malcolm X's image as a righteous Muslim revolutionary, personating personating with Iranians who viewed him as akin to Bilal B. Rabah or Rabeh, right? A freed Abyssinian slave and companion of Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. Malcolm X's popularity in Iran endured with translations of his autobiography and other African American literature. Iranian revolutionaries of 1969 framed him as, I didn't put it all here, but nevertheless, Iran intentionally revised and minimized its own history of slavery while shifting attention towards slavery in other countries, especially Negroes, blacks here in America. Right? Even academic sources show that slavery in Iran was removed from textbooks and replaced with narratives focusing on Black Americans, so when modern messages highlight American oppression without not acknowledging that history, it raises an important question about what's being left out. So that was part of their propaganda to continue to what? Go at the United States, but they removed their participation of our plight, or they're contributing to our conditions. Their contributions to us being enslaved. They're giving the playbook to these colonizers, right, with the Arabic slave trade. They gave the playbook to them. Not just them, when I say they, the Arabs. But they have us under this Roman delusion. Pick the lesser of two evils. That's a Roman philosophy. Even when you start dealing with politics, that's part of what? The Roman governmental system, the republic. You voting for the lesser of two evils. And actually, it wasn't a democratic republic. I mean, the democratic government, it was a republic government. So guess what? The lay people didn't have a vote. It was all about those who had the monies and politicians who voted. But anyway, but you see that this playbook starts with them. Go ahead, Berean Scholar.
No, I said, don't get me started on that one. You're right about that. That's where it is here too.
So we want to talk about the Roman influence, right? According to prophecy. But our people don't even realize they're promoting it because this is what we see. This is the playbook. All right, let's wrap this up. All right. So key point of why the image of the Malcolm X video, Malcolm X in the Lego video, the key point, I just want to highlight this real quick. Why is it there? Right? Iranian revolutionaries of 1979 framed him as an icon of racial justice within an Islamic context. And just so happened, what period are we looking at? 1979? That's the Iran situation, right?
Yep.
Framed him as an icon of racial justice within an Islamic context, as evident by the issuance of a postage stamp in his honor in 1984. Enslavement and its legacies were largely understood in Iran as an American phenomenon, with Pahlavi Arab textbooks omitting Iran's history of slavery and its participation in the transnational slave trade. Consequently, Malcolm X became idealized in Iran, while events like exhibitions on Black African art in Tehran, sponsored by Queen Farah Dibaa in 1977, framed the history of enslavement as foreign, not Iranian. So they making it seem like no, you know what? We didn't have anything to do with that. That's foreign to us. Or y'all can trust us. Come on, family. Real quick here. Persian lexicons produced in the same era in architectural and urban design under the Pahlavis to showcase escorted efforts for systematically erasing Black enslavement history in Iran. So they made an asserted effort to rewrite history in their country. So Malcolm X was presented as a Muslim revolutionist that resonated with Iranian audiences. Who are the Iranians? Are they Persians? I answered the question. And if so, should we give them a pass? We're going to stop right there, family. Because we're pushing the 3-hour mark, and I'm worn out. I can't do no back-to-back 3 hours.
Could you bring that map back up one time before we close, Pastor?
Which the
map to show the Islamic kingdoms conquered, what lands they conquered.
Okay, let's see here.
Just to recap, because you brought up so much good information tonight. All that land where the Islamic people, what they were known as Moors, who were not the ones you see today, was in this area. But they're not what we see today, because the Turks, and can you show them where the Turks came from, Pastor?
I don't have that map. Are you referring to the other
area
map with the Persians? But this is the area right here.
Okay, and where the Turks would have came from and migrated down.
All right, so we'll see the Caspian Sea.
And when you started off,
what we see here. We see
Khazars. What group was the same group? They came in and mixed in those areas. And those what all the stuff the pastor talked about, the how they conquered, killed, mangled, enslaved every area, that was the same MO that they took all over those other places that they came in and conquered. So that's the government, and that's the people who are reigning in the area today. They came from up there. I think a lot of people getting conflating them being part of Ishmael and all that stuff, and how they came to be, and that's a whole nother teaching there.
Exactly. But
great job.
Labeling,
great job.
Labeling is everything, family.
Yes,
and labeling allows them to rewrite history.
They rewrote history. They pointed the finger at someone else, but they were part of this problem too.
So, family, only thing we could do is give you this information. It's up to you what you're going to do with it. Are you going to continue to perpetuate the lies, or are you just going to say enough is enough? And for me, I'm just tired of seeing our people jump on the bandwagons of other communities, as if they are saving our community. When I know the history of these communities, we all that we have Israel through the Most High and His Son. We all that we have, right? So we have to start within our community. That's why they even came up with the COINTELPRO in fear of the Negro Messiah. They know who we are. Because why would they be in fear of a Negro Messiah coming up among our community if they didn't know who we are or were or is? All right, guys. Any matter of fact, let me look at the super chat real quick. Let's see if anything came up since we. All right. I want to give shout outs to Kodeshim. I want to say peace and blessings to you. I want to say shalom to you. Really appreciate the love and support. Apologies if I didn't notice your super chats earlier. When I'm showing my presentations, I really can't see the chat. But thank you. Really appreciate the love and support. Also, relevant love. Yah will bring us the truth by any means necessary. Absolutely. He's going to bring us the truth. The truth is right in front of us. That's why this era is referred to as the information age. So the only way you're not having this truth is because you're rejecting it, or you place yourself in a position that the truth can't get to you. And that's what, by choice. All right. All right. All right. Let me do something here. I see something in the chat. All right. We're getting that out of here. Anyway, sorry guys. Let's go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. We'll start with you, Sister Carol. Any final words you want to share?
I don't even know which way to go with that. Just read and open your mind a bit more than what you're doing. Stop boxing yourself with information that's not real and not true. Step outside your box and do some deep dive into information if you're not sure if it's true or not. And stop relying upon pastors and churches to teach you, which is what a lot of this confusion is coming from when I'm seeing in the chat tonight.
Absolutely. 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 Appreciate it, sis. Berean Scholar?
I'm going to bag up Sister Carol because you and I had this conversation this week. As being in the ministry for over almost 30 years and sitting with pastors and training with pastors, most pastors wouldn't give you their footnotes or give you their sources of their sermons. Or I'll show you their sermons. They just preach. Most pastors wouldn't give you the sources of the information like you got tonight. My challenge is, like you said, the information and the truth is there. Go back and watch this again. Write down these sources. Go look them up. Know what you know, so our people will be armed with the truth, and you'll be armed with the truth. Because the more people can tell the truth, the better.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Can't put it any better, any plainer than that. And family, I know some of you guys may ask the question in the comment section. Why don't I list? Why can I list all the sources? I am not going to do that. They are listed. It's in the video.
Yep.
So if you really want these sources, go watch the video. I'm not going to give you a cheat sheet so that way you could just go to the sources, but then you don't watch the video to see how the sources are being applied.
Exactly.
You know, the sources is in the video. Last night we copied a lot of the sources inside the chat, but guess what? It's in the video.
And stop. And I'm gonna say this too. And stop pushing this pastor to give you answers while he's teaching. Allow him to teach you, walk you through, so you understand and comprehend better, so you won't have these issues. Don't be trying to push him to give you something when he's not ready to give it to you. He's doing this on his own time, on his own resources that nobody's paying for. And I brought him to this channel for him to teach you. So allow him to teach you. Don't be pushing him and pressing him. I got pissed off at somebody tonight, wanting him to answer a question, and he's teaching you. I had to get that off my chest because I was really pissed off behind that. That's why I was quiet and watching the chat, because they're not paying attention to you. And you teaching them.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to.
And to your point here, Anxiety Alley, really appreciate your comment, and you really making Sister Carol's point here. Really appreciate you for sharing this. Look at what she says. She says, yeah, I didn't understand that TikTok people speaking like Iran, somebody to praise. That was so weird to see. I thought that people was just wanting to make some video content. And what you're expressing here, that's exactly how I felt. It's like, what's going on here? And me being prior military and being in those spaces and seeing firsthand. Now, I'm not saying I was in Iran. I wasn't in Iran. I was in Iraq. I was in Kuwait. I was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. I was in Bahrain. I was in those places. I was in Sudan. I've been to those places, right? So I got to see firsthand. And I got to see how Man, I'm telling you, when you go to, like, for example, Daharan, and you see how those people treat foreigners, I'm telling you, it's no joke. Especially treating like Indians, people coming in from India. I've seen some stuff, and how many of them view us. So to your point, sis, and that's just your discernment when you say, again, I didn't understand that TikTok people speaking like Iran is somebody to praise. I'm not praising none of these people. I'm not praising anyone. I'm praising the Most High. I'm praising the Most High. I'm praising the Father and what He allowed His Son to do. I'm not going outside those spaces. But anyway, really appreciate you, sis. I just thought I'd put that comment up on the screen. All right, as we get our wrap up, anything else, Berean Scholar? Or you?
So we got to realize that Iran knows something that everybody is doing now. They know that to get to everybody's ears and eyes, social media is it. Just like the small hatters, the 48ers, they try to control what can be said. All right, so we'll do more than that. We'll put out content that they like, and we're using their music, using their images. So that's what they're doing. So
all right, family. Well, we're gonna call it a wrap because I don't want this presentation to be like that song that never ends. All right, so we're gonna call it a wrap, family. But with that being said, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14. It says, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh." These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us. But here's the kicker, family. The scripture tells us that we have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word in that text is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. And guess what, family? In the day and time that we live in, we have to keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis